Hey everyone! Wanted to talk about one of the topics that gets brought up in the Xenogears fan group fairly often. No, not that one. I'm talking about some of the different ways to play Xenogears. Being a 23-year-old game for a 26-year-old console, a ton of different ways to experience the game are available now. So, thought I'd go over some of the more popular options that players have these days. Now this video is by no means an exhaustive list. I don't know every method by any stretch, and if anyone watching knows any way to play on a platform that I don't cover or I have no expertise in, please don't hesitate to comment, share your knowledge, let everybody else in the group know. And with that little preamble out of the way, let's get into it. So first, I'm going to quickly go over the official methods to play the game. Then we're going to go into mobile, tablet, phone, mobile devices. And then I'm going to spend a little while talking about playing on the PC. So, the official one. Good old PlayStation. Truly one of the best RPG machines of its time. If you're fortunate enough to have a physical disc, that will work with the PS1, PS2, or any PS3 model. A note for any PS2 players is that you will still need a PS1 memory card in order to save your games. The native PS2 memory card is incompatible, something I unfortunately found out when I played Brave Friend Musashi last. There's been some slight confusion with the PS3, so just to state again, all models of the PS3 are backwards compatible with PS1 games. It's PS2 games that only the original PS3 model can also play. So PS1, good to go. Then, of course, if you happen to have the PS Vita, along with the PS3, you can download Xenogears directly from the PlayStation Store. I actually had to verify this since I didn't see it last time I checked, but it is there. For I think about $5.99. Great value. The old PS Vita was never really mass produced, so it's a little hard to come by, but it's not that hard. You can find one that's reasonably priced, but you can find a PS3 almost anywhere for, $60-80. Probably better if you check the local game store than going on eBay, but they're not uncommon. Alright, next we have mobile devices and tablets. So if you're an Android user, you're in luck. There's a relatively quick and easy way to emulate pretty much anything. If you're an Apple user, you're not in luck. Because there is a way to do it, but I've done a fair amount of research. I have an Apple phone, but just a work phone. So my personal phone is an Android phone. And from the research that I've kind of done, it's not as simple as just going on the App Store, finding an app, getting the ROM, and just doing it. There seems to be like you have to do a workaround. You have to try and download it from a store that's not the official app store, but then Apple seems to keep updating it. It kind of seems like the most reliable way to play on iPhone is to jailbreak the iPhone. Then there's a few emulators that work for it. Providence, RetroArch, Mendefin, which has a great name, but I'm not really all that familiar with how to play on iPhone or even the jailbreaking process. It's not something that I'm hyper familiar with. So in short, in brief, if you're playing on Apple, I don't have a great way to do it. Maybe somebody in the comments might. So on to Android devices. So like I was saying earlier with Android, really easy to play. There are a ton of emulators that make it easy for you to get right off the Google Play Store. My top two recommendations are going to be EPSXE and DuckStation. So EPSXE is about $3.75 and it costs a few bucks, but the emulator is very reliable and it's officially supported by the devs behind it. So you can ask questions and get support. It's a great product. The other good thing is that it's also compatible with pretty much every PlayStation game. But for playing Xenogears, it doesn't matter so much. Which brings us to my preferred emulator on mobile. Actually, my preferred emulator overall, DuckStation. So, DuckStation I really, really recommend because one, it's free. No tricks, no traps. You just go to the Google Play Store, download it. It doesn't work with every game, but it has full compatibility with Xenogears. It even supports a full Bluetooth controller. I use my PS4 controller with my phone. You just connect it up. Really easy to do. It also supports, it's got a great menu, and it has easy layout, and it also has enhancements that are really easy to access and add to the game without stopping and starting the emulator. You can You can get upscaling effects, shaders, etc., etc. And a note on that, the more powerful your phone is, the better it's going to be at applying these increased resolutions and things like that. I ran this on my Samsung Note Galaxy and it worked really well. And I put it on a tablet that I bought and it didn't work as well because the tablet's, you know, far inferior in terms of its processor, RAM, and all the, you know, blah, 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 blah. So anyway, better phone you have, the more enhancements you can throw on there. If you're just going to play the game without any enhancements, you know, graphic-wise or anything like that, it's pretty straightforward. It'll work on basically anything. Let's see, for both these emulators to work, for both EPSXE and DuckStation to work, you're going to need the PlayStation BIOS and the bin.q files for the actual game. So for the PlayStation BIOS, just fire PlayStation BIOS into Google, just type it into Google, and any of the top result pages will get you a good copy of the file. I'll kind of put my mouse over the one I think you should go to. The name of the file you're looking for is scph1001.bin. And like I said, if you type PlayStation BIOS into Google, you'll get any of those will work. The one that I use is a file size is about 512 kilobytes. The other 213 kilobyte version works as well. Okay, so as for the bin and the Q file, that'd be the actual game off the disk itself. You can go through Google and type in Xenogears bin, and again, any of the top sites, especially this one I'm pointing out here, will work to get you a good file. And for bin Q files or ROMs, you know, for the game itself, here's where I need to go on a little bit of a rant, a little tangent rant. So I've seen plenty of comments asking where can I get Xenogears, and this is nothing recent, but somebody will say, well, just look it up on Google, and then someone's like, I can't look it up, I can't look it up. It's like, come on, man. Like, you can look this up. I understand that, you know, people want safe sites and they want, you know, just like, oh, why can't you just tell me? It's like people don't want to put out their, you know, where they're getting these games from out there. It's like, just do the base amount of research. Just type it in Google. I promise you, it is there and it will be fine. And look, if you're really concerned about malware, go download Malwarebytes. Free antivirus, really easy to go. But I will say this, 9.9 times out of 10, going with your result, it's gonna work. Like I said, if you just type it in, you will find a good, clean copy of the ROM, particularly if you just do what I did and you can see one of the websites that I'm hovered over. Alright, rant over. So, going through the DuckStation setup for mobile devices, pretty simple. You download your PS BIOS, and you can put it onto an SD card, or you can put it onto the internal memory of the phone or tablet you're using. Load your game into a file and do the same thing. Pretty easy. It'll just go through a setup process. It'll automatically scan, find it, and it should do the same with your games folders. You can designate a path for it to go to. It's all pretty self-explanatory. And you just launch your game and away you go. And then you can play around with the enhancement settings, and you want to really find out what works for you. It's a very feature-rich emulator, but it's also easy to use. So really great emulator. You know, I'm not sponsored by DuckStation, but I really want to be. Alright, on to the PC, the big boys. Now, unfortunately for Mac and Linux users, I have no idea what works for those guys. I don't regularly work with those OSs, so again, someone else in the comments or something can kind of probably give a better example. There's also a really great emulation website that I'll put up on screen that gives you an idea about what emulators work on what platforms. I think DuckStation works on all three. I'll find out and put it on screen for you. So if you're using PC and you've got your old physical copy, this is what I did. You can make your own bin, Q file with, without having to go on the internet and find it. Just get a free software called ImageBurn and follow the steps to create the game on your computer. It's really simple. Now, you don't have to use ImageBurn. You can use any CD ripping software. I don't know if you can natively do it on Windows, though, but anyway, like I said, ImageBurn is pretty free. It's easy, and you just put your disk in, you hit Create Image from File, and as Madden would say, boom, you got yourself a game, and it's ready to rock and roll. Now, if you don't have a disk, don't worry about that. Just go to one of the sites I showed you earlier on the Google and download the bin file for it and your PlayStation BIOS. So, on the PC, there are a absolute boatload of emulators you can use. There's way too many to name. Again, there's EPXSE. This one's free. There's PSX Fin, RetroArch. There's just a bunch. But for the purposes of this video, I'm going to focus on my preferred emulator, DuckStation. It's got the most support options, easy to use interface, just like the phone, but even more robust. Really customizable if you're a bit more of a tech guy or just someone who's more comfortable working with software, then you can really get in and do a whole lot of things with this one. If you're less comfortable with that, you want a basic interface, it's got a really good interface. So you can easily get your game upscaled all the way to 4K with multi-sampling and smooth rendering. There's a whole lot of options that you can do on here, and it's the way that I play pretty much all my games. So any game footage you've ever seen me upload here has been pretty much all played with DuckStation using the enhancements because it's just so good. I mean, it really, really helps with all the 3D sections of the game and all the gears. So, pretty much every background art, every environment, that's all 3D. There's a few objects in game that are 3D. It is great. I highly, highly, highly recommend playing that way if you have the option. Like I was saying, don't forget to play around with the settings and see what works with your specific hardware. I happen to have a 2070 Super with 32 gig RAM and DDR4, blah, 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 nice game station, right? But really, I'm saying that because even with my rig, which is a decent rig, I couldn't play it at the highest resolution possible without having a little bit of slowdown at some parts. So just go through, find out what settings work for you, and you should be good to go. Alright, and I would say that other than that, the really cool thing with DuckStation also is that it really interfaces. I mean, really all the emulators do, but if you're a YouTuber or something like that, or somebody who just wants to record your own footage, I really recommend the app. I think it's Screen Mirroring app. I'll put it on screen for you guys. That's a really good one for your phone, and you can easily cast it to your own device just over your own internet. And there's a lot of videos set up on that I'll put a link to, just so you guys can do that if you want to. But anyway, this is just going to be a little longer than I thought video on just some of the basic ways to play Xenogears and how to find it, how to get it on mobile and whatnot. If you want maybe some more detailed videos, like let's say step-by-step instructions on, hey, I really just don't know, I'm not comfortable with what I'm doing, can you outline it? Just let me know, type it in, and then I'll just go through a step-by-step video or something like that. But I suspect most people will probably be fine. Either way, hope you guys enjoy, and enjoy playing your game. Take it easy. Bye.